On the day we were supposed to take our wedding photos, I saw a message my fiancé sent to his ex. It said, "I'm not going to marry her, the only person I'll ever marry is you." That night, his ex posted on Twitter, "The luckiest thing in life, the restaurant I love is still around, and so is the person I love." I also posted on Twitter, sharing a collage of our wedding photos. "Anna, maybe we should reschedule the photo shoot for today? How about picking another day?" A staff member cautiously refilled my tea as she asked. I glanced at the time. An hour had passed, and Calvin hadn't come back. Today was supposed to be the day we took our wedding photos. But while I was changing into my wedding dress, Calvin said he had an urgent matter to handle at work and told me to wait. The makeup artists in the shop gathered together, looking at me with sympathy and pity. It seemed even they knew Calvin wasn't coming back today. When he rushed out and left, his phone fell onto the sofa, and I saw his messages with his ex. Mandy had asked him, "You're leaving me, aren't you?" Calvin had replied, "How could I? You're the only one for me." He sounded so certain, completely different from when he first said to me, "Anna, let's give it a try." Mandy was his first love, his goddess. They had dated for 5 years before breaking up due to long distance. But to him, I was merely someone insignificant. "Continue taking the photos," I said. The staff were shocked. I pointed to a guy lazily sitting in the corner, dressed in a black hoodie with long legs that seemed out of place. "He's your new model, right? Tell Shirley, I'll cover his fee for this shoot. Double it. Shirley is my best friend and the owner of the bridal shop." The staff hesitantly approached the guy and whispered something to him. Then, he turned to look at me. I was amazed. That face, that body, the photos would turn out great today. He nodded to the staff. The model was a college junior named Kim, doing part-time work over the weekend. Kim probably just started this part-time job and didn't have much experience, but his face and physique were top-notch, making the photos come out exceptionally fast. Several times, I couldn't help but stare at Kim's handsome face, lost in thought. I forced myself to calm down by thinking about the mess Calvin left me with. In the end, I added Kim on Instagram and transferred him the money. "Thanks, Kim." Kim humbly replied, "Thanks, if you need wedding photos again, you can always call me." Kim sure knew how to sweet talk. Relying on my friendship with Shirley, I asked the staff to prioritize editing some of the photos and send them to me. That night, I saw Mandy's Twitter post. It was a busy restaurant, and the hand of a man entering the frame looked very familiar. The engagement ring was already taken off, just a clean hand. "The luckiest thing in life, the restaurant I love is still around, and so is the person I love." I also posted a collage of wedding photos after that. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Anna, what's going on?" Calvin, finally remembering me, was the first to call and question me sternly. Lying on the sofa, I watched with satisfaction as the likes and comments rapidly increased. Most comments were complimenting Kim's looks. "What a handsome guy. His looks definitely outshine Calvin, the actual fiancé. Can't you tell?" "Taking wedding photos," I said. I asked Shirley to keep her best makeup artist and photographer available for me today 3 months in advance. "How did it turn out?" Calvin was silent for a moment, then his tone softened. "I'm sorry, Anna. Something really came up today, and I didn't mean to stand you up. Didn't I say we'd reschedule? Did you tell me?" I asked, surprised, opening our chat log. Indeed, an hour ago, he had informed me. He must have been pouring his heart out to Mandy at that restaurant. How thoughtful of him to remember his bride-to-be left alone at the bridal shop in such a sweet moment. Sorry, I was busy picking photos at the time. "When exactly do you want to reschedule?" "In our next life?" The other end of the line went silent. I chuckled. "Since you're sure you'll only ever marry Mandy, I won't hold you up any longer. This way, I can do some good for myself." I ended the call. Immediately, Shirley called. "Anna, what's with your Twitter?" Hesitating for a moment, I asked, "You don't agree? I've got over 200 likes and counting." This saves you a lot on promotional costs. Shirley sighed. I heard what happened at the shop today. My question is, how are you going to explain switching grooms in your wedding photos to the elders? I shrugged. That's Calvin's problem now. We met at work, and I learned from other colleagues that he had just broken up with his first love. Many girls in the office were into him. After all, in terms of looks and ability, Calvin was indeed impressive. As we got to know each other at work, we gradually developed feelings for each other. When he confessed, he said he wanted a new relationship and life with me. I thought everything would go smoothly, until the day we made our relationship public, and a stranger added me on Instagram, saying just one thing. Calvin is allergic to alcohol. Please make sure he doesn't drink. And then I knew, it was his ex, Mandy. Just one sentence, and Calvin would drop everything to go back to that person. Shirley thought about it. Makes sense. Both his parents are teachers. This must be so embarrassing for them. In the comments section, people who didn't know about Calvin and me were screaming with envy. That body. That looks. Is Kim awesome or what? I was feeling good, recalling our shoot, and replied earnestly, of course, he's young after all, great waist. Carrying him was a piece of cake. As soon as I posted it, I realized something was off. Before I could delete it, I saw that Kim had liked the tweet. How could I forget I still had his contact info? Kim is only 20, this is not appropriate. When I stepped into the office on Monday, I became the center of attention. It wasn't their fault for being nosy, it was just unfortunate that Calvin and I still worked together. When I ran into him in the hallway, he didn't look well, pale and worn out. He must have spent the whole weekend explaining to his parents why the wedding was cancelled. His parents had called me in the middle of it. I just said I didn't want to hold him back, and my parents grabbed the phone to give Calvin a good scolding. They didn't call again after that. Calvin and Mandy were once talking about marriage, she had even met his parents. So they knew about Mandy and likely guessed the current situation. When Calvin saw me, his eyes brightened a bit, and he walked quickly toward me. Anna, can we talk? I waved the files I was holding and smiled politely. Sorry, I'm a bit busy with work. Email me. I had already deleted his contact info. Calvin's expression darkened instantly. He pinched the bridge of his nose, looking utterly exhausted. Do we really have to be like this? I know it was my fault before, but those words were said in the heat of the moment. Can't you forgive me this once? The hotel is booked, invitations sent out. How do I explain this to everyone? Remembering all that now, aren't you? If there's nothing else, I'll be going. I wasn't interested in his long-winded apologies and walked away. Calvin seemed to lose his patience, his tone turning irritated. He grabbed my wrist and frowned. What else do you want from me? Yes, my words hurt you, but you posted wedding photos with someone else on Twitter, didn't you? Anna, you're just doing this to spite me. Who said I did it to spite you? I cut him off. Calvin looked at me like I had told a joke. Isn't that obvious? How long have you known him? 3 days. Honestly, overlapping social circles with Calvin so much was a pain. You saw those photos, right? Do you think it's hard to fall for someone like him? I asked, just like giving up on someone can sometimes take just a moment. Calvin was stunned. My phone rang suddenly, and I used the moment to break free from Calvin's grasp. A cheerful voice came through the phone. Anna. College reunion tomorrow night. Same place, you coming? It was Jenny, my college roommate. Without hesitation, I said, I'm in. She giggled, great. But bring your significant other, okay? How about bringing Kim? Calvin was right there. On a whim, I said, sure. And immediately regretted it. Kim and I only connected because I paid him. Now, how do I follow through on this boast? After much internal struggle, I braved contacting Kim. Kim, are you free tomorrow night? After a while, Kim replied, is it a new photo shoot? No, it's something else. I want to hire you to pretend to be my boyfriend. I'll pay you hourly, what do you think? Maybe I was generous enough, after considering for a bit, Kim finally agreed okay. I let out a sigh of relief. If this could finally make Calvin disappear from my life, then I was more than willing to spend the money for this charade. I quickly transferred the funds. Here's an advance payment, the rest will be settled tomorrow. Thanks, Kim. The reunion was at a bar. After work, I drove to Kim's school to pick him up. Considering his part-time job, I covered his travel expenses. When I saw him, I couldn't help but be taken aback again. Today, Kim was just wearing a simple white t-shirt, black sweatpants, and sports shoes. His neat short hair slightly covered his well-defined and deep-set eyes. Seriously, just seeing him stand there, he'd already won. We're meeting my college friends tonight. They're nice, so don't be nervous, I reassured him. Kim smiled and nodded obediently, okay. My good mood vanished as soon as I saw Calvin at the bar. Why won't he stay gone? When he saw me, Calvin walked over Anna. His eyes shifted to Kim, looking somewhere between shocked and amused. Don't you think this is a bit childish? A surge of anger hit me, but before I could speak, Kim suddenly gripped my hand tightly. He pursed his lips, looking somewhat distressed. So, you brought me here just to make him jealous? Unexpectedly, Kim, your acting skills are quite something. I stood on tiptoe, leaned into his ear, whispering loud enough for Calvin to hear, of course not. I only like you. The bar's dim lights couldn't hide Calvin's immediately darkened expression. At that moment, his phone lit up suddenly. With a quick glance, I saw Mandy's name. But Calvin dismissed the call and looked back at me. Anna, cut it out, will you? Do you really want to make a scene in front of everyone? Let's go home and talk this through, okay? I hadn't even opened my mouth yet when Kim suddenly stepped forward, blocking me. Anna's already said she doesn't want to go with you, don't you understand? Calvin pointed at him and yelled angrily, what does this have to do with you? This is between us. It's none of your business. Calvin. What are you doing? I felt a surge of anger boil up. Don't forget, you and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. What gives you the right to yell at him? Anna. Kim half turned, shielding me, and softly consoled, don't get angry because of me. I'm fine. Calvin was beyond furious, you. His phone rang persistently again. What's going on here? Our commotion caught a lot of attention, and Jenny, with some friends, squeezed over. Seeing Kim, their eyes lit up a few degrees and then focused on Calvin. Calvin, why are you here? Not accompanying your goddess to a restaurant today? Calvin's face stiffened. I have to hand it to Jenny, one sentence shut Calvin right up. He finally left. As he walked away, I heard him answer his phone, talking low to Mandy. I was with clients just now, didn't hear you, I'll be back soon. This guy is really something. What's going on in his mind? When he was with you, he didn't care, but now you've broken up, he's hanging around here shamelessly. While Kim went to the restroom, Jenny popped next to me, interrogating. I thought, he probably just likes his ex-girlfriends. Now that I'm an ex, he's like this. Whatever. At least now you have Kim. He's so handsome and young, incomparable to that jerk. Jenny winked at me ambiguously. Seriously, he's top tier. I know so many good-looking guys, but none are as hot as him. She lowered her voice, excited, so, is Kim really that good? Spill it. My face heated up, and glancing up accidentally, I saw Kim coming back, making my heart skip. Did he hear that? I quickly pinched Jenny, there's really nothing to talk about. Jenny's eyes widened, didn't you say it yourself last time? First thing you said was praising Kim's waist. Kim's footsteps suddenly halted. The ride home was unusually silent finally, I mustered the courage to explain. Don't misunderstand. I meant, during the wedding photo shoot, that your arm and waist strength were great. Nothing else. Kim turned to look at me, his eyelashes fluttering slightly, his eyes clear and pure. He's working so earnestly, and here I am thinking all these ridiculous things. Kim softly said, I know, Anna. My heart sank. He knows. He knows. By the time we reached his school, it was completely dark. As he started to get out, I quickly called out, "Kim." He paused and looked back, his eyes seemed to brighten a bit. I coughed, "Thanks for today. If you ever need my help, just ask." Kim's eyes seemed to dim a bit. Only for an instant though, almost an illusion. He smiled slightly, "It was nothing. As long as you need, I'm here." My heart started racing. Such a young, handsome face, such clear, pure eyes, and such ambiguous words. Who could resist this? I quickly looked away and smiled, nodding. "Sure. A little flirtation is fine, but I can't seriously mess with Kim. That would be too much." Kim's smile faded a bit, lips pursed. I pretended not to notice and waved. "Goodbye, Kim." When he got out, I felt the car become spacious, and the tense heat diffused significantly. As I was about to drive off, I heard some lively greetings nearby. I heard someone calling Kim's name and turned to look. 4 or 5 young boys and girls, probably just returning to school, ran into Kim. "Kim, coming back so late?" A boy called out while peering curiously at me. "What was so important that you had to ditch our plans?" Kim said earlier he was free tonight. Did he cancel plans with friends to come here? "Personal matters," Kim said indifferently. He had his back to me, one hand in his pocket, his voice clear and cold, adding an air of restraint and aloofness. Different from his obedient demeanor with me. Also, I guess he's quite popular in his circle. After thinking for a bit, I rolled down the window, smiling and waving at them. "Hi there." The boy who spoke looked stunned and then became more restrained and embarrassed. "Kim, is this your sister?" A lively, crisp female voice emerged. The speaker was a girl in a white dress, with a heart-shaped face and a pair of curious eyes that made her look extra youthful and lively. I immediately understood, she likes Kim. That gaze was too obvious. I was about to nod when Kim beat me to it. "No," he said. "She's my girlfriend." That statement left the scene dead silent. They all stood there, stunned, their gazes on Kim changed. "Kim. When did you get such a beautiful girlfriend?" I looked up in surprise, meeting Kim's earnest gaze. "So, this kid is using me as a shield. Fine." I blinked and smiled at him, signaling that I'll play along. After all, I just said I'd help him with anything, didn't I? Here's the chance. Those girls at school will go crazy when they find out. Another boy bit back the rest of his sentence, glancing cautiously at the heart-faced girl. Her expression had frozen since hearing Kim's words. Seems her crush on Kim was an open secret. Kim didn't seem to care, bending slightly towards me. "Anna, be careful on the way." My heart skipped a beat. Sounds just like a considerate boyfriend. I turned back, nodding compliantly. "Sure." Kim was startled, then quickly turned away, softly replying. In the dim light, his ears seemed tinged red. I waved goodbye to his friends and drove off. In the rearview mirror, those boys couldn't help but gather around, chatting and glancing over here constantly. The girl followed at a small distance, her head slightly lowered. The girl next to her seemed to be comforting her in a low voice. I couldn't help but sigh to myself. Of course, a guy like Kim would be popular at school. Since that night at the bar, Calvin hadn't contacted me privately. We went back to being just colleagues. So, when I received Calvin and Mandy's wedding invitation, I was really surprised. "Did she really invite you?" Shirley pulled off her face mask and sat up. I tossed the invitation to her. I heard she even wrote my name herself. It would be weird if I didn't go. Shirley studied the invitation for a while. "It's the same hotel, the same hall, and even the same day as your originally planned wedding." She didn't even bother to change it. "This is pure provocation, isn't it?" I shrugged. "That hotel's hard to book." "Understandable, right?" Shirley scoffed. "She should understand you too. Don't tell me she doesn't know it's the same day you and Calvin booked for your wedding photos." How convenient. I didn't want to dwell on the past anymore. But there's something even more annoying. I pressed my temple. Actually, I don't mind her inviting me. The weird thing is, Calvin invited Kim too. Shirley looked shocked, muttering, "Are these two out of their minds?" Seems like it. But the real problem is, how do I tell Kim about this? Asking someone to pretend to be my boyfriend is one thing, but bringing them to an ex's wedding? That's a whole different ball game. Maybe I should just refuse. I'll sit with my coworkers anyway. Just as I was talking, my phone started ringing. It was from an unknown number. When I answered, it was Calvin's voice. "Anna." His speech was slurred and he sounded drunk. "Anna, I miss you so much." I held my phone away from my ear. "Calvin, I still have your wedding invitation in my hand. Can you get a grip?" He seemed to hear me but ignored my words, getting emotional. "I'm perfectly sober, Anna. I've never been clearer than now. I miss you so much. Being with her these past few months, I thought everything would be the same as before, but it wasn't. I miss you so badly." His voice was filled with pain. "Don't ignore me, don't be with someone else. I'm sure you're the one I want, Anna. Give me another chance. Let's start over, okay?" I couldn't help but laugh lightly. "Calvin, are you addicted to this? Didn't learn from the first time?" There was silence on the other end. Just as I was about to hang up, a woman's voice spoke up. "Anna?" It was Mandy. I hadn't formally met her yet, but I'd overheard their calls when I was with Calvin. So, I recognized her immediately. "Sorry, Calvin's drunk." She seemed to walk to the side and her tone changed, filled with anger and resentment instead of the previous politeness. "Anna, does messing with someone else's fiancé amuse you?" I almost thought I heard wrong but then couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Mandy, shouldn't I be asking you that?" Mandy scoffed. "I'm not like you. I've been with Calvin for 5 years. I'm the one he truly loves, not you. You're just the compromise he made for his family." "That's great then. Being loved by someone like Calvin would have been annoying for me. Best of luck to both of you." Mandy angrily hung up. Shirley leaned closer curiously. "So, are you still going to the wedding?" "Yes, why not? They genuinely invited me to witness their happiness. I should show some respect," I said, preparing to message Kim. "Kim's been really busy lately, why not call him directly?" Shirley suddenly suggested. "Busy with what?" I asked. "Not sure, seems like some modeling competition." "Heard from people at the store," Shirley shrugged, half admiring, half envious. "He hasn't taken any photo shoots recently because of it." She glanced at me sourly. "He's only ever done a proper wedding shoot with you. It's like he's your personal model now." That sounded odd, but it unexpectedly brightened my mood. You can't help it if someone's good, right? I called Kim and told him about it. "Next Saturday?" He confirmed the date. "Yes, but if you're busy, it's okay." Kim sounded a bit excited. "How did you know I've been busy?" "I heard it in the store." Kim knew Shirley and I were best friends. He paused, breaking the silence with a laugh. "The competition ends Friday. I can make it," sighed in relief. "That's great. I'll pick you up then." "No need. I know the hotel." "I'll come directly," Kim replied. "Thanks, Kim." After hanging up, I saw Shirley pinching her nose. "What's that smell?" "Sounds like love," she teased. I kicked her. "Stop it. Kim's so young. If I were to do anything, it'd be unethical." "Really?" Shirley was shocked. "Anna, just flirting without commitment? How is that different from being a jerk?" She clicked her tongue. "Even if I were a girl, that smile of yours would make me think you liked me. Imagine how a hot-blooded young guy would feel." "Got it, I'll avoid that next time." Shirley looked at me with hopeless eyes. "Just grow old alone." At the wedding, I sat with a few coworkers, hearing gossip behind me. Can't believe she actually showed up. No way around it, she's just thick-skinned. Probably can't accept it. You can't force feelings. Calvin just likes Mandy. But it's good she's here, she can see for herself and give up. I turned around and saw it was the girls at the table next to mine talking friends of the bride. I said seriously, seems like you don't know. I was the one who dumped the groom. By the way, my current boyfriend is way hotter than Calvin. Their table went silent, the atmosphere awkward. I pointed to the two people on stage taking their vows. These decorations? I picked them out. Nice, right? But seriously, the groom's a bit much. He changed the bride but kept all this? The girls looked really uncomfortable. One of them suddenly mocked, what's the big deal? Isn't the person more important? Who could marry someone who doesn't love them? I nodded in agreement. Exactly. If it were me up there today, I don't know how much I'd regret it or how much I'd cry. Better let Mandy enjoy this luck. The girls looked at each other, green in the face, and turned their backs, choosing silence. After a while, Calvin and Mandy came over to toast. Now I noticed Calvin had dark circles under his eyes, showing no signs of wedding joy, more like attending a funeral. I raised my glass with my colleagues. Congrats, congrats. Calvin stared at my glass but didn't drink from his. He pursed his lips and suddenly asked, your boyfriend didn't come with you? His tone wasn't great, and the surroundings fell silent instantly. Mandy tugged his arm and softly said, he must be busy, right? I heard he's still in his junior year of college, and he does part-time jobs. It's understandable he couldn't make it. Mandy secretly found out about Kim? She's back with Calvin, why does she still care about me? Isn't she tired? The girls behind us snickered like they heard a joke. What? A junior in college? And part-time jobs? Isn't he just a poor student? Exactly. Thought he was something amazing. Older woman and younger man relationships often don't last. You want his youth, he wants your money. Do you really think you're a fairy everyone loves? I cooled my expression and was about to speak when a familiar voice came from behind Anna. I reflexively turned back to see Kim walking over. He was wearing a black shirt, his broad shoulders and narrow waist making him look stunningly handsome. Everyone's eyes were drawn to him, some young women blushing, staring at him. Kim stood beside me, naturally bent down slightly, and smiled. Flight got delayed, sorry I'm late. You're not mad, right? Who could resist this level of hotness? I quickly shook my head. No. Why didn't you text me when the flight was delayed? This wedding isn't that important. You didn't have to come. It's tiring traveling back and forth. Calvin froze, Mandy almost lost her smile. Kim shook his head, nothing's more important than you. Even though I knew he was saying it on purpose in front of everyone, his clear eyes made my heart race. Can't help it, his looks are a killer move. I whispered, but it must have been tiring. Kim smiled, it's okay. I came back on my uncle's private jet. My eyes widened, and the crowd fell into dead silence. Kim pointed upwards. He had to come back, so I hitched a ride. This hotel rooftop has a private helipad, right? Wait, does this building belong to your uncle? I asked, dazed. Mandy gripped her glass tightly, her knuckles white, barely keeping her smile. No way, this can't be related. This building isn't my uncle's, Kim said. Mandy showed a bit of relief. But then Kim added, it's my dad's. They had different last names because one took their grandpa's, the other their grandma's. Mandy and her friends' faces were a sight. My colleagues kept giving me looks, like you got a boyfriend who's not just drop-dead gorgeous but a total rich kid. How to explain this? I only found out today. Calvin suddenly said, Anna, you can't hold your liquor, better drink juice. Mandy whipped her head to look at him, her face momentarily turning pale. Everyone exchanged looks. I almost rolled my eyes. Thanks, really saying this in front of your bride to your ex, not worried about karma? But before I could refuse, Kim took my glass. Anna and I do genuinely wish you both well, Kim said with a slight smile. Besides, as her boyfriend, I should drink for her. He gulped down the wine and seemed to remember something. He smiled and said, all right, although this building doesn't belong to my uncle, this hotel does. As a gesture of sincerity from Anna and me, you get a 10% discount on the venue and drinks today. If you have your next event here, it will be 20% off. Before the wedding ended, I left with Kim. Is everything you just said true? Although I already believed it, I couldn't help but ask again. Kim said seriously, of course it's true. No matter who they marry later, they will each get a 20% discount. I tapped him lightly. I'm being serious. Since your family is so rich, why do you still work part-time? Kim looked at me with slightly drooped eyes, looking exceptionally innocent. Anna, I want to live off my looks. He couldn't help but laugh. Actually, it's a misunderstanding. Alan said his store was short a model and couldn't find a suitable one, so I filled in. But the other model canceled that day, so the shoot got canceled. I didn't expect to meet you later. Alan is Shirley's husband, always super busy. He left the store to Shirley and hardly ever visits. I glanced at Kim again, marveling silently. Well, he definitely has the looks to be a model if he wants to. But this kid is really low-key, usually, you can't tell at all. I see. But no matter what, thank you today. Not only for getting me out of a tough spot but also for helping me vent some frustration. I patted his shoulder and said, come on, I'll drive you back to school. Kim said, I can drive. I gave him a once-over and then tossed him the keys with a smile. Sure, the kiddo needs to save face too. Kim gave me a quiet, dark look. I am not a kid. The conversation felt a bit off. Kim's lips moved, as if wanting to say something more. I coughed lightly. All right, you're not a kid. I'm the kid, okay? Can I trouble you to be my driver today? Saying that, I quickly got into the passenger seat to avoid his gaze. Then we both remembered that Kim had just had a drink, so we switched back, and I drove. The car was silent for a moment. The atmosphere was a bit too much for me. I started a conversation. By the way, I haven't asked yet, how was the competition? Kim said, I won the gold medal. I was taken aback. Really? That's impressive. Knowing about his competition, I had looked it up. It was a national college league held every 2 years, very prestigious. Only the best talents got to participate. He even brought home gold? Kim chuckled at me. It's okay, this year wasn't too challenging. Mr. Humble. Just this achievement alone is enough to outshine so many people your age. Your school must have loads of girls who like you, right? Kim suddenly said, but I don't like them. I was at a loss for words. Kim's sentence was clearly incomplete, but I didn't dare hear the rest. My heart raced, and I felt inexplicably flustered. Just stop at the corner, I said hastily. Kim hesitated. But that's still a block away from school. It won't look good if your classmates saw us together, I interrupted, pretending not to see his momentarily stunned expression. All my issues have been resolved. It wouldn't be good to cause misunderstandings that might hurt your chances with someone else. Calvin and Mandy were married now, so it seemed unnecessary to have Kim pretend to be my boyfriend anymore. Kim's voice turned tight and cold, almost like he was restraining something. That's it? The car's previously cheerful atmosphere turned icy. Oh, I haven't paid you yet. I'll transfer the money now, I said, trying to sound nonchalant. Anna. His voice trembled. I knew how outrageous my statement was. Kim didn't need this money. He rushed back just because he promised not to let me face the wedding alone. Kim, we're not suitable, I heard my unnervingly calm voice say. I let go of the steering wheel and got out of the car. Kim followed almost immediately, opening the car door, storming around the hood, and stopping right in front of me. Just as I was about to walk away, he grabbed my wrist. His eyes locked on mine intensely. I refuse to believe you don't feel anything for me. I stared back at him before wrapping my arm around his neck, pulling him down, and kissing him. Kim froze, but only for a moment before he responded, taking the lead. Initially, he was clumsy, but he quickly learned, soon completely taking charge. He pressed me against the car door. Even with clothes between us, I could feel the heat of his young body. His arm tightened around my waist, almost squeezing the breath out of me. That heat spread through me, almost melting me. Our breaths mingled, and I could barely breathe, needing to draw oxygen from between his lips. His kiss deepened, and his whole presence was so assertive and forceful, making it almost impossible to resist. I don't know how long it lasted before he finally let go, burying his head in my shoulder, his soft black hair brushing my cheek, making me itch. His breathing was heavy and hot, his voice hoarse. "Anna, you like me too, right?" I touched his hair. "Like this, is it enough?" Kim froze, looking at me in disbelief, his voice trembling. "What?" I smiled at him. "I tried. I really don't have feelings for you, but if this makes you happier, I can do it." He opened his mouth but couldn't say a word. I leaned in closer, laughing softly. "Or do you need more before you stop bothering me?" Kim's look was as if he was seeing a stranger. He suddenly shook off my hand and turned to leave, his back showing some embarrassment, but he didn't look back. "Are you crazy? Kim is being sincere and you just trash him like this? You're such a jerk." Shirley yelled at me furiously over the phone. I rubbed my forehead. What else could I do? I'm 6 years older than him, we're totally incompatible. Being together just for fun would make me an even bigger jerk. Shirley was speechless. "Are you so sure you can't be together? You think age is an issue, but Kim might not see it that way." She summed it up. "Anyway, the only thing clear now is, you broke his heart. You're just a heartbreaker." I felt inexplicably guilty. But it was already done, no point in regretting it now. After that day, Kim and I lost contact. Life seemed to get back on track. Unexpectedly, I heard about Calvin resigning. A few coworkers huddled together, gossiping. Why did he resign? Wasn't he doing well? Maybe his wife doesn't want him to stay at the same company as Anna. I raised my hand helplessly. "Hey, can't you guys be more considerate? I'm right here." "No way. He got divorced." Heard that after the wedding, Mandy made a scene, crying and banging on the hotel door. Calvin was so embarrassed that he asked for a divorce right then. They all looked at me, puzzled. I left early that day. How would I know what happened? What's there to say? Men always look somewhere else while eating from their bowls. Exactly. And she grabbed someone else's fiancé before, so she should have expected to be grabbed too. Did you see how lost he was at the wedding? "Anna, he definitely still likes you." I quickly responded. "Don't say such ominous things." Everyone laughed. Anna's current boyfriends are way better than Calvin. There's no comparison. Out of curiosity, I checked Kim's school forum. Considering his popularity, there should be lots of posts about him, right? But things didn't turn out as I thought. His name was indeed on the homepage, but why was I also involved? Shock. Kim got dumped by a beautiful older woman. Even a handsome guy can get heartbroken. I clicked in, shocked, and saw a picture. It was taken the last day we met. Kim stood in front of me, head slightly bowed, carefully reaching out as if to touch me. I leaned against my car, head turned aside, seemingly smiling but also indifferent. Anyone looking at this would think it was my heartlessness that broke Kim's gentle heart. Kim is such a proud person, and he even has a vulnerable side? That woman is so heartless. If it were me, how could I bear to let such a handsome guy suffer? So what? That woman isn't ordinary. She had a fiancé and was about to get married, then got dumped and turned to Kim for fun. There's no way Kim can compete with that. My heart skipped a beat. Before I could get angry, I saw another comment below. "Oh. Speaking of which, I think he got into a car accident on the day they broke up. Was he hurt that bad? Suddenly, my heart sank. Kim got into a car accident? And on that very day? I couldn't read further. My mind was in chaos. How could this be? Does this make me the culprit? How is he now? I hastily opened Kim's contact but felt messaging would be too slow. Calling would be better. Before I could dial, I hesitated. What right did I have to make this call? I was the one who told him to leave me alone. No more hesitation. I gritted my teeth, rushed to my boss's office to ask for leave, then hurried out of the company, making my way to his school. I remembered someone on the forum saying he had returned to school for classes. But once there, I realized I had no idea where he was. Finally, I asked around and waited below his dormitory. Hours passed. Multiple times I thought of calling directly but couldn't bring myself to do it. I kept reassuring myself, I'm just here to check if he's okay. As long as he's fine, I'll be at ease. As dusk fell, students returned one after another. But I didn't see Kim. A guy stopped in front of me, surprised. Anna? It took me a moment to recognize him as Kim's friend from that night at the school gate. Hi, I need to speak with Kim. Is he here? His expression became a bit awkward. Oh. He went out with Mary today. Probably won't be back until late. Mary, the girl with a heart-shaped face who liked Kim. At that moment, I couldn't pinpoint my feelings. My chest felt stuffed, sticky, and heavy. The guy scratched his head. Should I call him? No need. I smiled. It's not urgent. If he's out with a girl, it means he's probably okay physically, right? I said goodbye to him and turned around to leave. Now my mind was filled with the urge to escape from here. But as soon as I turned the corner, I ran into a tall, slender figure. Kim. He was leaning on a crutch with one hand, and a girl was standing on the other side, carefully supporting him, looking very close. At that moment, I suddenly began to regret coming here. I never knew that seeing him so close to another girl would make me feel so bitter and unbearable inside. Suddenly, Kim seemed to sense something and looked up. Almost instinctively, I quickly hid behind a nearby tree. Kim withdrew his gaze and looked at Mary standing next to him, his voice cold. I'll say it one last time, let go. Mary was standing sideways to me, so I couldn't see her expression. Her voice sounded aggrieved. I'm just worried about you. I was stunned. This conversation didn't really sound like a couple's talk. Kim took a step back, freeing his hand from hers. Even though he was injured now, he was still a tall and strong boy. How could Mary deal with him? I think I've made myself clear enough. Kim said, I don't like you. Mary was silent for a while, then suddenly asked, what kind of girl do you like? Her. It was as if I instantly understood that she was referring to me. Kim's voice was cold. It has nothing to do with you. Mary's emotions flared up. She's so much older than you, and even had a fiancé she almost married. What's so good about her that's worth you acting like this? She didn't even bother to visit you when you got hurt. She doesn't like you at all. Kim suddenly interrupted her, asking coldly, how do you know that? Mary's voice stopped abruptly. In the dead silence, Kim spoke firmly, the rumors on the forum were spread by you. I realized it. Among his classmates who had seen me, there were only a few, and the one who could find out and make such comments was easy to guess. Mary's voice became tearful, shouting, so what? Aren't what I said facts? Kim, can't you wake up? She's just playing with you. What does she take you for? Of course, as a boyfriend. I walked out and picked up from where she left off. Mary looked back at me in shock, and Kim's gaze also fell on me, cold and heated at the same time. I walked up to him and glanced at his leg first. How did you get so careless? Does it still hurt? Kim pressed his lips together. It doesn't. He didn't answer my earlier question. But seeing that he was being stubborn, it was probably not a big deal. I felt relieved, then turned to look at Mary. Hasn't anyone told you not to spread rumors randomly? Mary's face turned red and white, probably not expecting to be caught bad-mouthing someone behind their back. Thanks for caring about Kim, but when it comes to matters of feelings, only we know the full story. This is the first time Kim and I have had a conflict, and we don't need advice from outsiders. I took out my phone. What's your account number? I'll transfer you the care fees for the past few hours. Mary glared at me angrily, then turned to run off crying. I could feel Kim's intense and unignorable gaze on me. I sighed lightly and looked back at him. Being injured and you don't even rest properly, there's always time to ask out girls. I didn't ask her out. Kim retorted without thinking, realizing he seemed a bit out of control, then turned his head to the side, saying, I just wanted to confirm if she was the one spreading the rumors on the forum. He lowered his voice. I don't care what they say about me, but they absolutely can't talk about you. I heard a part of my heart crumble deep inside. Teenage love is always so fervent, sincere, direct, and pure. I stepped forward. It really doesn't hurt? No boy would probably admit it at this moment, including Kim. A car ran a red light that day, and I got grazed a bit. It's not serious. Kim paused and added, it's not your fault, you don't need to feel guilty about it. He guessed right away why I came today. I nodded, that's good then. Kim was stunned, his eyes dimming, his jaw clenching. Then you can leave. Before he finished speaking, I leaned up, kissing the corner of his lips. Kim was surprised, a hint of astonishment flashed in his eyes as he stood frozen like a statue. His hand rested on my waist, seemingly wanting to pull me into his arms but barely restraining it. His voice was hoarse. What do you mean by this? Just as I was about to pull away, he firmly held me, staring stubbornly at me, waiting for an answer. Truly hard to deal with. I blinked. Didn't you ask if I had feelings for you? Not sure, let me try again. Kim's Adam's apple bobbed. So, have you figured it out now? If you're not sure, do you need to try again? His body was heating up. I whispered in his ear, can I really? Kim's breathing got much heavier, but he still nodded obediently. If it's you, whatever you want. My heart softened instantly. I touched his ear lightly. Then listen carefully, Kim, I don't need to try. I know I like you. All my hesitation vanished the moment I saw him. I realized I missed him so much after such a short time apart. Feelings are never controlled, for him, nor for me. The next second, Kim cupped my face and kissed me fiercely and urgently. At first, it was fine, but later I couldn't help but pinch his lean waist hard. Kim. Are you a puppy? Biting so hard. Kim pressed his forehead against mine, his eyes shining brightly. I just wanted to make sure this isn't a dream. I really felt that young people grow up too fast. I almost couldn't handle him. I pointed at him. If you don't want to worsen your injury, you better stop now, got it? Kim's face turned red instantly, burying into my neck, answering pitifully. It's hard not to like Kim like this. I wondered what luck brought me to him. Thinking this, I asked him. Kim, when did you start liking me? Kim's voice was a bit muffled. The first glance. I was instantly stunned, pushing him away to look into his eyes. So you fell for me at first sight? Kim held my hand. At that time, I thought, how could someone look so good in a wedding dress? If only it was for me. He lightly kissed the back of my hand, looking at me intensely. Anna, let's take wedding photos together this time, too? My heart stirred, and I couldn't help but laugh. Okay. Didn't we already agree?